So I was able to get this guitar here. Not sure how to play it yet. Only reason I got it is because Bernie Williams plays a guitar. Now I play a guitar. See the connection? Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees suffer a bad break. Oswaldo Cabrera fractures his ankle in Seattle. Most likely done for the year there, kind of a brutal injury. But the Yankees get maybe a little good news, so with one player going out, another player coming in. Of course, that's DJ LeMahieu, now reinstated back up here in the majors for the Yankees. Kind of almost like perfect timing in a way, but with an unfortunate situation. So looking at that whole deal there. And of course, we're also looking at Marcus Stroman, again, dealing with that sore knee there, kind of giving an update on that injury. Not that the Yankees are dying to have him back, but again, he's someone, again, the Yankees could use in the rotation as they kind of wandering there in the 4th and 5th spot, just trying to get more length out of some guys there. So looking at that, and also look back in a little baseball history. Of course, we all knew this was going to happen. Commissioner Rob Radford now reinstating some players you might have heard of, such as Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, now eligible for the Hall of Fame, because they always do this when a player passed away. We knew all this was going to happen, so I'll kind of give you my take on that situation. And Shoeless Joe Jackson there, again, not a Yankee there, but a little baseball history as well. Maybe you don't know the whole story. I didn't as well, so I did a little research there as well. So I'll give you the Shoeless Joe Jackson story there, just if you want a little bit of baseball history as well. So we got a little Yankee present, a little Yankee past, and a little baseball past as well. So a good mix for you this episode. So stay engaged here, stay tuned in, don't turn away. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show. So as much as you'd like to see me, you want to hear me more, you want to get my takes a little quicker on things, wherever you get your favorite podcast, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And if you happen to be watching right now on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And if you're watching on TV right now, you want to get these things a little quicker, you don't have to wait a whole week to get a new episode, go to YouTube, you'll get it quicker. Subscribe to the Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and also get the audio podcast as well. So we know the Yankees had a couple of injuries already. Of course, we know with Jazz dealing with the oblique/flank injury there, but that's like a muscle tissue situation. It doesn't seem very dire. And of course, we know that Giancarlo Stanton working his way back with the elbow issue, because we've seen the footage of him taking the batting practice as he's working his way back. But now Oswaldo Cabrera, now you add him to the list, and it looks like he's probably going to be out for the year. In Seattle there, now he was on third base, trying to score on a sacrifice fly from Judge there. Now, if Judge would have hit a home run, then none of this happens, but you can't blame Judge. Obviously, came in, he was trying to avoid the tag from the home plate of catcher there, and kind of almost like overran home plate there, and kind of like almost try to catch himself and go back, and he kind of landed on a weird angle there. Long story short, there ends up fracturing his ankle, and kind of a brutal injury. Kind of knew something was wrong right away on the floor, screaming in pain there. And again, just not a good situation. Now, in terms of how long he's going to be out. Now, at first they put him on the 10-day IL, which is ridiculous. But that's just a paperwork sort of thing. At some point, he's going to be moved to the 60-day IL, or is this going to be out for the season? We don't know yet right now. So waiting on a prognosis how long this is going to be. But again, a fracture of the ankle. It did not look good at all there. Was it as brutal as that time? I remember Jeter fractured his ankle in the playoffs. I think it was like 2012 or 2013 there, where little Jeter's foot was kind of hanging off his ankle there. That one you knew was brutal. Was this one as brutal? No, but pretty close to it there. So I can't really imagine a situation where he's going to come back this season there. Again, it looked like pretty brutal there, but again, all remains to be seen there, whether this is like a big fracture or maybe just a hairline fracture. Still kind of waiting on that, but long story short, he's going to be out for a long while, again, probably for the season if I had to guess there. And it's kind of unfortunate because, he's pretty much been the Yankees' consistent third baseman for most of the years. So he had, so of the 41 games to date there at third base, he started 30 of the 41 games at third base. So he was kind of the de facto Yankee third baseman. Now, was he tearing the cover off the ball? No, he was hitting 240 and had one home run there. But again, okay, decent, and again, defensively, making all the plays there. Again, was he a Brooks Robinson? No, but again, holding down the fort. Now, I thought at some point, probably in the season, the Yankees would make a move there. Now, whether that was something like DJ coming back, and maybe if he just really got red hot out of the gate there, maybe he would take the job away from Oswaldo Cabrera. Or at some point, you figure maybe the Yankees would make a move to upgrade a third baseman, get someone like a steady person there, they could maybe provide you a little more offense, a little bit more pop there than what you're getting from Cabrera. But nevertheless, it's a shame to lose a guy like Cabrera because not only can he play third base, but again, he's a jack of all trades. He can almost play every infield position. He can also play the outfield as well if you need him to do there. So just have a guy like that on your bench. He's a switch hitter, homegrown guy, and just seems a nice guy. He's always smiling. That's just how it is. You don't want to see that happen to him again. I mean, you don't see it happen to anybody, but especially him. Again, he's kind of a happy-go-lucky guy there. But again, he's going to be out there, so again, and probably for the near term. Looks like now this with the timing, the way the whole thing is, DJ LeMahieu now back with the Yankees. Now in the previous episode here, I did mention that the plan was for him to most likely rejoin the team as they come, as they're on that West Coast trip there. So we didn't see him in Oakland, and obviously I guess it's with the timing, everything now, of a coincidence or not, probably not though, with him, Oswaldo Cabrera fractured his ankle, open up a roster spot, and again, it would be a smooth transition. So now DJ LeMahieu back with the Yankees up on the Major League Club. Now, interesting enough, with Jazz out, the original move, according to Boone, is actually to have DJ LeMahieu, who's only started, let's see, he's only been at a second base 44 games since 2022. That's to show you the amount of injuries and kind of the way they move DJ around a little bit. So it's not like he has played a ton of games at second baseman, but with the fact that Jazz is out 4 to 6 weeks with the oblique injury, it would at least make sense to keep Oswaldo Cabrera at third base and have DJ at least rejoin the team as a second baseman. And then when Jazz comes back, kind of figure out where everyone's going to go right now. But now, of course, with Cabrera out, now the plan would be for DJ to play third baseman, and which just kind of makes sense, and kind of keep platooning at the second base with Vivas as well as Peraza at second base until hold down the fort until Jazz comes back there. So DJ back with the Yankees, and again, it kind of made a smooth transition. It's almost better in that way. I can't see DJ, obviously 36 years old. He has, as mentioned before, he's only played 44 games at second base since 2022, just because he's missed so much time with the Yankees there. And again, him at third base is probably just a better thing for the Yankees. Obviously, it requires less range there, less of a chance of him hurting himself. And again, and he doesn't have to cover much ground at second base. You're asking him a lot at 36 years old to cover a lot of ground there at second base there. So in a way, that's a good move for just for a good transition for DJ to come back there. But of course, again, the bad news that Cabrera is out for the Yankees. Now DJ, obviously, they gave him a rehab assignment there, and if you want to look at his numbers there. Now, in AAA, most recently, his most recent assignment there, he went 5 for 11, so it's it's a little under 500 there with 3 walks. And overall, if you want to take his work he did with AA and AAA, he hit 444 with 1 home run there. So hitting well, but again, that's the minors. You're not facing the best quality pitching, but again, that's pretty substantial, hitting well over 400 there. So what is that going to translate when he comes into the major league level? We're going to have to wait and see. And again, this is DJ who's missed a lot of time. If you remember, go back to last spring training, fouled the ball off his foot, had a hairline fracture himself, missed a chunk of time there, and again, did not really have a good season for the Yankees, was barely hitting 200, and of course had to really pretty much sit out towards the end of September there. Had what they call a hip infringement, so he kind of missed out on the October run and the postseason run the Yankees had there. So, and then he starts off this season there having that issue, running to first base, has a severe calf pull there, and he's sidelined for a while there. So again, DJ over the past couple of years hasn't played much. Again, a lot of injuries, a lot of wearing. He's 36 years old there, so hard to expect what we're gonna, hard to know what we're gonna expect from DJ LeMahieu. Can you depend on him a lot? Not really, but he's now gonna at least offer something the Yankees haven't had a little bit. Just goes with some guys out. Is a right-handed bat. Again, the Yankees, they say, have been too lefty for a while there. So now DJ providing a legitimate right-handed bat to this Yankee lineup, which kind of balance things out a little bit there. And let's just take it where it goes. I don't know. Can he hit like Goldschmidt like that? Probably not, but can at least DJ LeMahieu be a 250 to 260 hitter? I think that's all you would ask at this point there, and maybe a bop, an occasional home run, and just play sound defense there. Again, you don't have to be Brooks Robinson at third base there, but just don't be a butcher boy. You have someone like Max Fried, for example, who gets a lot of ground balls. You want to make sure someone's confident there to get those easy outs at third base. So for the Yankees, are they offensively going to miss a lot with Oswaldo Cabrera being gone for the year? No, he wasn't tearing the cover off the ball there, but serviceable guy, flexible guy, good guy to have on your bench there. And again, sad to see, but more than likely he's going to be out for the year. And now we have DJ LeMahieu up here finally, and let's just see what he got there. Obviously, the past couple of years for the Yankees are just absolutely miserable for him. Obviously, he signed for this year, and he got him 1 more year for the next. So let's just see what happens. If he turns into an absolute like Josh Donaldson or an absolute like Joey Gallo or Aaron Hicks, who literally looked like they couldn't even play baseball anymore, it's a position where then maybe the Yankees would cut him. I just don't see that happening. This seems to be just because the money he makes him. He's making like $15 million per year, so you really got to be horrible for the Yankees to want to cut you. And I don't think in terms of trade, who's going to want DJ LeMahieu unless he just starts tearing the cover off the ball? I don't see that happening there. So I think that's the best thing you hope right now is that he just recaptures something, whatever a stroke is. Again, he's been dealing with a lot of different injuries, whether it's the hernia issue, problems with his feet, problems with his ankle, problems with his hip there. I don't know if that stuff is behind him or not there, but again, I guess the best thing is just him just try to, just again, all he asks the guys maybe hit 250, 260, that's it. Just don't be hitting 200 there, don't be horrible, don't be striking out 4 times every game there. And again, DJ LeMahieu so far, I think he's been spared for the most part by the Yankee crowd. I mean, you don't hear boos for him and stuff like that, but again, that could start coming his way because, we saw with Gallo, we saw with Donaldson, we saw with Aaron Hicks. So DJ, if he doesn't perform well, you might maybe start hearing that. He hasn't got that yet, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not the case there. But again, DJ LeMahieu now probably most likely moving forward here, going to be an everyday third baseman. And sticking with the injury front, I got another injury the Yankees have been dealing with is Marcus Stroman and his knee. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, again, had to be taken out of the game there, had some discomfort. They kind of gave him a shot there, didn't really seem to do much there. Now, last we heard from him was a batting practice he threw on May 9th, and he's still, according to Aaron Boone, experiencing discomfort in this knee there. So again, looks like this is something that's lingering. And again, this is now a couple of weeks after he's actually had a shot in it there. So we don't know if there's is this going to be now something that's hurts him for the rest of the season? Is that all of a sudden we're going to hear some news that maybe is this done for the year? Probably not there. Or is this the case of Stroman is kind of being bitterish? Remember what happened with him going to spring training there where the Yankees had 6 starters for 5 spots and he said refusing to go to the bullpen there and kind of being not really a great teammate and saying, no, I'm a starter, nothing else there. And then again, the Yankees were able to kind of dodge that bullet there with both Luis Heel and Garrett Cole being out for the year for the rotation. They kind of opened the door for Stroman to quietly go in there. But I don't know. Is this Stroman's kind of jaking a little bit? Probably not. I hope that's not the case there. Just him kind of being a little bitterish and being just kind of this annoying with the team, knowing that's probably is going to be his last season with the Yankees. It's probably done after this year there. So we don't really know what the full situation is. It is kind of odd, though, but it looks like, again, this thing is not healing, whatever it is there. Now, is this really detrimental to the Yankees? No. I mean, obviously, Stroman was good for the Yankees, I guess, the first half of last year, but spring training wasn't that great, and in the handful of starts he had so far this season, not really too terrific there. So, Yankees not really missing out on much. I mean, you would rather have a competent starter in there versus what they're doing right now with Ryan Yarbrough, kind of giving you 4 innings and having to go into the bullpen there. So, Stroman at least would give you at least an opportunity to at least go 5-6 innings there, to eat up some innings that way there, so you don't have to go to the bullpen that early. But again, I don't think the Yankees are missing a ton with him really not in there. So again, we'll just have to wait to see what happens with that. Maybe he needs another shot. Remember how obviously with Stanton, he got the first shot in his elbow there, in the elbows, and really just seemed to respond. Then it took about 2 or 3 other shots after that to finally kick in there. So I don't know. Maybe they have to give Stroman like 2 or 3 more shots, and maybe the knee will get healthy. But again, you're not really in a rush to get him back there. But again, the Yankees are a little thin in the starting rotation, so it would be at least good to have him as an option. Now, the last episode we did announce that Carlos Carrasco was DFA'd designated for assignment there. Now, they mentioned that it wasn't exactly goodbye for him. Again, Aaron Boone was saying some positive things about him. Again, once he was designated for assignment, again, the Yankees had a couple of choices. They put him on the waiver wires. Now, another team could have picked him up on the waivers, or the Yankees could have traded him. Neither happened. He kind of came around again, so the Yankees got Carrasco back, so he never really left, and now they have signed him to AAA, which was always his original assignment. Again, when he signed with the Yankees, it was supposed to be a minor league deal, just to kind of park him in AAA, and just bring him up occasionally if you need a spot start somebody. If you have like a doubleheader, you need to start real quick there. That was going to kind of be his assignment originally, but because, as I mentioned before, with the injuries to Luis Heel and Garrett Cole, he just became a necessity. Had a good spring training there. Looked kind of decent, promising early on, but you knew it was a situation that he probably wasn't going to be with the team past, May there. I mean, you figured he was 38 years old. It was a good renaissance story there, but again, you were going to get the guy for a full season there, and he kind of eventually reality hit the wall with him, not giving the Yankees, too much length off in there. But again, he's still somewhat competent, so I guess you just kind of keep him in your back pocket there, and we'll just see what if the Yankees kind of do need somebody, if someone that does go down there, at least you have him there in your back pocket. And as for Will Warren, finally had a strong start because he was kind of like next in line there. Maybe the Carrasco DFA kind of woke him up a little bit. Had his best start of the season against the Oakland. Obviously, they're playing Sacramento there as they're kind of building the new stadium for them. Again, had a strong start there, so hopefully you can build off that there because you can't have 2 guys in your starting rotation only giving you 4 innings and then you go to the bullpen too early. You're going to burn your bullpen out. I guess we'll switch to a little good news, a little positive news, and that's Jasson Domínguez finally having a breakout performance. And I guess mentioning those A's there, was actually in that same game that Will Warren had his best start of the year. Domínguez teeing off with 3 home runs, hitting 3 home runs in the same game there, which is more he had for the whole season up to that point there. And, of course, getting his first career grand slam there and hitting home runs from both sides of the plate there, which is important because we see him struggling a little bit from the right-hand side of the play. Again, he's a switch hitter there, but so you'd like to see him, be good at both sides there. He was kind of struggling at the right-hand side, but at least it's good to see him bop one out there as he looks to improve there, and having himself quite the week overall there. And let's look at his numbers, kind of eye-popping, kind of judging type numbers. So 6-day stretch during that period there, he hit 368 with the 3 home runs I mentioned there, and 7 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.353. So it's judging type numbers there. And it's good to see that from Jasson Domínguez. I'm not going to say, I'd like to say he's a disappointment. You would think he would take off a little bit there, getting the full-time job now as the left fielder. I know they pull him out early in games, put Trent Grisham or put Bellinger out there and kind of switch guys around a little bit. But again, getting a ton of playing time. But really, only up to that point, he only had 2 home runs, which you kind of scratch your head a little bit, because we saw when he first came up back in 2022, he had 4 home runs in 8 games there. So to go almost 2 months in the season and only have 2 home runs, what's with this guy? Where's he going to turn it on? What's going on with him? Has this breakout performance, but not only with the home runs, of course, also before that, this with the batting average as well there. Again, starting to be, being included with some Yankee rallies as well, being involved in some walk-offs and stuff like that there. So good to see him in a little mix there, but you would kind of like to see him now elevate his game a little bit, because you're kind of depending on him a little bit, especially the fact that we don't have Stanton back there, so you need some power from elsewhere. Again, you're kind of getting a bit of a surprising season from Trent Grisham. You probably weren't expecting this out of Trent Grisham, so maybe that balances that out a little bit there, but you would like to see maybe Jasson Domínguez come on a little bit more, maybe put himself in a position where that Boone wants to bat him 4th or 5th in the lineup, where hopefully he should be. Now, only 22 years old there, so again, you don't put too much pressure on him, but we've been hearing about him for a long while. We know he did it in the minors there. We know what he did when he brief cup of coffee when he came up with the Yankees before he needed Tom John surgery. So we know what he's capable of there. So again, it'd be good to see him really start taking off. So hopefully that 3 home run performance is a trend of something good moving forward. And speaking of age here, also now breaking the Yankee record, becoming the youngest Yankee to hit 3 home runs in one game there. So we'll have to go back in the record books in that one. So that would be 1937. A play you might have heard of called Joe DiMaggio, a young kid. Now, he did it at age 22, but it was 22 and 200 days old. Jasson Domínguez also at 22, but Jasson Domínguez a little bit younger, only at 91 days old. So Domínguez doing this at 109 days younger than Joe DiMaggio did it in 1937 there. So, it's a good omen, something good to see. And the Yankees have, again, we know that tradition with switch hitters, Mickey Mantle, Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Nick Swisher, Mark Teixeira, again, Chili Davis. Again, the Yankees, anytime they've had some good championships here, some success there, there's always been that, one or multiple switch hitters there in the middle of that lineup there. So, you'd like to see Jasson Domínguez be that next generation of that. Again, I know it's putting a lot of pressure on them, but again, we just saw it back in, the 90s Tories Yankees, when you had Jorge Posada and, Bernie Williams there as switch hitters there. Again, opposing managers there makes it tough for them to fill out the lineup and do who are you going to take out of the bullpen there, because it doesn't matter. So, again, if you have Domínguez really on top of his game and in the middle of that Yankee lineup, it's all the more better. So if you're watching the last few episodes here on YouTube, the visual version of the show, I would say there, we kind of been, poking a little fun at Juan Soto there. Again, we're not bitter that he left for the Mets there, not, decided to spend the next 15 years of his life with the New York Mets versus over the Yankees there. But have a little fun with that. We kind of been comparing his stats to some current Yankees right now, where you definitely make the case with someone like Trent Grisham as well as Ben Rice are clearly almost having better seasons than Juan Soto, again, getting $54 million a year. There's great talent in his prime there, but you have some guys you're not really expecting doing way better than him. Now, the last episode we did Cody Bellinger, who you would say as a Yankee fan maybe a little disappointed with him. Again, he's been good in the field there, but batting-wise, you expect a little bit more out of him now. If you've been looking at his average, it has been creeping up. Finally, he's gotten over 200 there, so we want to build on that there. But he's been slightly disappointed, but even him, when you compare it to Juan Soto there, Juan Soto just maybe slightly having a better season. But again, he should be having a much better season than Cody Bellinger, but he's not. Just slightly better there. So this episode, as I promised you, we can now going to compare him to Anthony Volpe, the Yankee shortstop. Again, a scrappy guy. He's not like he's not like Jeter. He's not like A-Rod. He's not like Nomar Garcia-Piara, who was probably was juicing with the Red Sox in '97, but won't say that. But nevertheless, kind of a scrappy player. You don't expect him to have stats that are going to be comparable to Juan Soto there. But for the fun of it, let's take a look at the stats here. Let's check under the hood. Now for Juan Soto, I have to give him a little credit. His batting average is creeping up a little bit. So now, as of right this second, he's got it up to 252. So he's just over that 250 mark, which is great there. Not exactly 300, not exactly the 340 he was hitting with the Yankees last season, but 250 there. So 252, sorry. Don't want to shortchange him there. Now, he has an entire 8 home runs up to this point. Hey, not bad with the power. Now, since last week, he only had 19 RBIs. He's increased that by 1, so now he has 20 RBIs. So a whole week went by, and he's got 1 more RBI, so you got to give him the credit there, and 39 hits. So 252, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs and 39 hits. Now let's look at Anthony Volpe. Some of the Yankees usually bat low in the order there. Kind of a scrappy guy in his third season as a Yankee there. You can a little pop to the bat. You don't expect too much of him, but let's see what he's doing now. And he was someone I was also complaining about that was hitting too close to 200 there. He needed to up it up. So credit to him. Maybe he saw the episode, probably not. But if he did, I think it motivated him because now he's got his average up a little bit to 245. So Juan Soto at 252. So and Volpe just about 7.007 points under him at 245 there. So almost the same there, but you would say you think Juan Soto would hit way much higher batting average than Anthony Volpe. Now power-wise, again, shortstop there, kind of a bit of a pop-up, but has 6 home runs. So Juan Soto with 8, but Volpe is right behind him with 6. So pretty close there. Now the RBIs, Soto's still stuck on 20 there. Volpe actually got him beat with 24 RBIs. So again, someone, scrappy guy at the bottom of the Yankee lineup has 4 more RBIs than Juan Soto there. And hits just about the same. He's just right behind Soto with 36 hits there versus Juan Soto's 39 there. So just 3 hits less. So again, Soto making $54 million a year. The best player in the game, the generational talent, just has only 3 more hits than Anthony Volpe, who's making like circus peanuts right now there. So not a good showing for Juan Soto. So if you want to take the value of both of them right now, I mean, Volpe's at least giving you a better season for what he's capable of that you're getting from Juan Soto right now. So, yeah, we'll check it. I don't know, maybe next episode, maybe we'll do Jasson Domínguez just because maybe Domínguez heating up a little bit. Maybe he'll hit a couple home runs, and then we can compare Jasson Domínguez to Juan Soto. But right now for Juan Soto, again, the Mets are doing well. Again, kind of rocking as a team, but individually, not as good. Again, we're not going to root against Soto there, but we're going to compare him next week. I think next one will be Jasson Domínguez. Now, last episode, we kind of highlighted Devin Williams, again, having another blow-up in the mound. That was the opening of the San Diego series at the stadium there, where, again, yeah, the blown save got charged to Luke Weaver, but it was really, Devin Williams lighting the dam there, or I guess lighting the fuse there for things to fall apart there. Well, if you want to criticize the guy, you got to also give him some kudos. So 2 games later, now actually Boone did this, going to him in a critical spot. Now, this was extra innings there. It was 10th inning with San Diego having a ghost runner on second base there. Now, you would figure this would be bad news for Devin Williams. He would probably give up, the game-winning hit there. Obviously, the Yankees would get one more at bat in the bottom of the 10th there. But Devin Williams able to hold his own there and getting 3 strikeouts of some pretty 3 remarkable hitters there. One of them being Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, who's not easy to strike out there, and last but not least, Xander Bogaerts. So 3 quality strikeouts. Now, you got to mix in a walk there and a hit by pitch. So it was a bases-loaded situation there. Again, he could have imploded there, but he stood tough and was able to get, again, the final strikeout of Xander Bogaerts there and doing it with the airbender. Now, velocity-wise, the stuff was about the same that has been there, 94 for the fastball and about 83 to 85 for the changeup there. But for some reason, maybe it was just the one start there or the one appearance from him, his stuff did look a little bit more crisper. So maybe it's just I don't know, maybe it's a weather thing, maybe it's as things are getting warmer for him, or maybe it's just him getting a feel for some of these pitches there. His stuff looked better. Now, again, I did mention he had a walk and a hit batsman in there, so it wasn't exactly a clean inning there. But again, bases loaded there, could have easily imploded there and been another disaster for him. But again, he able some strikeout of Xander Bogaerts and 2 strikeouts of Fernando Tatis and Machado before that. So, those are 3 quality guys to strike out there. So, I'm not saying Devin Williams is back there, but again, he had some bad performances, but this was a really good one in a big spot in the top of the 10th inning there, able to hold down the fort, and of course the Yankees getting the walk-off win at the bottom of the 10th there. But again, so, so you want to give a little kudos to Williams there. Not a situation, you got to see a bunch more of those before you even consider him being the closer again there, but at least a good first start. And for news, I guess, across baseball and dealing with the Hall of Fame, as I mentioned at the top, Pete Rose now eligible for the Hall of Fame. Obviously, we knew this was going to happen. Even Pete Rose said it in his own words before he passed away a couple months ago that they'll actually let him in after he passes away. And this is horrible. They do this in baseball. They also do this in football as well. I mean, why not let a player be in the Hall of Fame while they're alive so they can enjoy it? They always wait till someone passes away. That's controversial. Then they let them in when they can enjoy it. I never really understand that, but nevertheless, Pete Rose, as well as some other players you may have heard, such as Shoeless Joe Jackson, and overall 16 players and 1 former manager who are all now deceased, taken off the permanent ineligible list by Rob Manfred. And in his words, he said, it's a person no longer with us can represent a threat to the integrity of the game, which is ridiculous. So the fact that he's dead means that he's no longer a threat to the integrity of the game. Well, what also could be, removing a threat to the integrity of the game is just don't hire him. Just don't let him be a manager, don't let him be a player, don't let him be a coach. You can't be involved in the team. You can still get into the Hall of Fame. So the fact that he's alive does not make him a threat to the integrity of the game. You could just don't hire him, or just don't allow a team to hire him. He could also not be a threat to integrity of the game. So the whole thing's ridiculous. But nevertheless, Pete Rose as well as Shoeless Joe Jackson now will be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now, personally, if I was Pete Rose's family or a state, whatever, I would have almost tell him, like, go kiss off, just for holding him out like that. But it looks like, according to Pete Rose's lawyer, that the family is interested of him now being into the Hall of Fame. So I guess at some point, I guess it'll be the Veterans Committee, whatever, that will officially elect him in. Obviously, his tenure thing ran out decades ago, but because we have this Veterans Committee now that votes in players, and that's how you get sort of like the Harold Baineses of the world there, who are a little bit on the borderline, probably not really a Hall of Fame, but Pete Rose obviously will be a shoo-in. So I guess wherever the next voting comes around there, expect Pete Rose as well as Shoeless Joe Jackson will be voted to Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose has to be. I mean, he's the all-time hits leader there, obviously breaking Ty Cobb's record there, and just again a first ballot Hall of Fame all the way. And I kind of went through his numbers, probably last season, other seasons ago, when we talk about Pete Rose occasionally there. Again, first ballot Hall of Fame without a doubt there. So I guess the next go around, we will see finally Pete Rose in Cooperstown. But again, it's a shame he couldn't do it while he was alive there, which again makes no sense. Just to say that just because he's dead, he's no longer a threat. Again, you just don't hire the guy. Don't let him be a manager. He could also not be a threat there. So the reasoning's stupid there, but nevertheless, at least finally gets in there. Rob Manfred finally, doing this, and as well for Shoeless Joe Jackson. Now, as I mentioned with Shoeless Joe Jackson, obviously you know the backstory with him. He was banned from baseball, supposedly helping fix the 1919 World Series against the Reds there. Now, supposedly what happened that both Shoeless Joe Jackson and 7 other players took bribes to help fix the series. Now it's a series that the White Sox lost. They kind of call it the Black Sox scandal there. The Reds ended up winning the World Series, but then years later, actually it came out that actually maybe Shoeless Joe Jackson didn't throw the game there, and actually it was really the 7 players that did it, not Shoeless Joe Jackson there. So a little bit of a controversy. Obviously, Jackson passed away way back in 1951 there. So again, we'll never find out the truth there. But it is kind of a weird case for Shoeless Joe Jackson to have thrown the World Series. If you want to look at his numbers there during the World Series, hit 375. He had 12 hits, which was a record at the time for a number of hits in a World Series with no errors. So I don't see how you're looking to throw a game or you're looking to throw a series by hitting 375, getting 12 hits, and committing no errors at his position. And he had the one and only home run of that whole 1919 World Series. So if you're trying to fix a game there, why would you hit 375 there? So that never made any sense. But according to, I guess, court documents, about a year later in September of 1920, he gave a statement to a grand jury that he did accept a $5,000 bribe to fix the game there. But now, as we find out years later after that, apparently Shoeless Joe Jackson was illiterate. So he might have signed a testimony or something he couldn't even read, and he didn't know he was admitting to there, and ended up saying he was guilty when he was not guilty there. And according to those 7 other players who did take bribes, they say Shoeless Joe Jackson wasn't involved in it. In fact, he actually refused the bribe twice, and it wasn't until one of the teammates literally threw the money on the floor in the hotel rooms. Like, hey, well, look, back in 1919, I mean, $5,000 was the equivalent to almost $80,000. I mean, if someone throws $80,000 of cash in front of you, you're probably going to pick it up there, even if you want it there. So it's almost like that they forced this money into Shoeless Joe Jackson's pockets there. So again, always going to be controversial what he knew or not, but again, the other 7 players said that he wasn't involved in it, and it's hard to make a case that he was looking to throw a game if you hit 375 there. So we'll always find out the truth. But as for Joe Jackson overall in his career there, he hit 356, which was the 4th highest in baseball history. So again, he's definitely, you look at his number, a shoo-in for the World Series there. So both him and Pete Rose probably next year or the year after will be in Cooperstown. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. So it looks like the Yankees have to manage the rest of 2025 without Oswaldo Cabrera. Again, fracturing his ankle there. Looked kind of ugly. Had to be carted off there. Looked like he was in a lot of pain there. So can't see him back anytime soon. Just hopefully he has a recovery, whether it's surgery or whatnot, and is back in the Yankee uniform at some point. But of course, DJ LeMahieu back for the Yankees, and the best we could do is just root for him. Is he going to be that DJ LeMahieu of the first 2 seasons when he was the quote-unquote the machine? No. Is he going to be as horrible as he was the last couple of seasons? Maybe. But if he can just be somewhere in the middle there, I think Yankee fans and the Yankee organization will settle for that. And if you're a Pete Rose fan, or is this a fan of someone like Shoeless Joe Jackson, see it was unfair for them to be locked out of the Hall of Fame, at least now you got your wish. They will be eligible for Cooperstown. We'll catch you next time.